It was an ordinary Wednesday morning at Oak Ridge High School, and I was sitting in my history class, half listening to the teacher drone on about the Civil War. The classroom was a typical high school setting: rows of desks, fluorescent lighting, and a whiteboard covered in notes. Little did I know that this ordinary morning would turn into a nightmare. The loudspeaker crackled to life, and the principal's voice came through, sharp and urgent. "Attention, students and staff. This is not a drill. We are now in lockdown. I repeat, this is not a drill. Lock all doors and windows. Remain silent." Panic swept through the classroom as the reality of the situation sank in. Lockdowns were rare at our school, and the suddenness of it sent a chill down my spine. The teacher sprang into action, locking the classroom door and turning off the lights. We huddled in silence, waiting for further instructions. Outside the classroom, the hallways felt eerily quiet. The usual bustle of students was replaced by an unsettling stillness. Time seemed to stretch on, and anxiety gnawed at my insides as I wondered what had prompted the lockdown. Rumors began to circulate among my classmates. Some said there was an armed intruder on campus, while others whispered about a bomb threat. The uncertainty only fueled our fear. Minutes turned into hours, and the tension in the room became unbearable. We had no access to news or updates, and the lack of information was maddening. I watched the clock, the minutes ticking by slowly, each one feeling like an eternity. Suddenly, a loud banging echoed through the hallway, followed by the sound of hurried footsteps. I felt my heart race as I listened to the chaos outside. It was clear that something was terribly wrong. The banging grew louder, and then the door to our classroom burst open. A panicked teacher from the neighboring classroom rushed in, her face pale with terror. "They're coming," she gasped. "We need to hide." Without hesitation, our teacher led us to a storage closet at the back of the room. We squeezed inside, the darkness swallowing us. The teacher closed the closet door, leaving it slightly ajar to allow us to see. As we crouched in the cramped space, I could hear the footsteps drawing closer. The intruders, whoever they were moving quickly, their voices hushed but urgent. I held my breath, my heart pounding in my chest, as the footsteps reached our classroom. The intruders entered, their dark silhouettes visible through the crack in the closet door. They were dressed in black, their faces obscured by masks. I could feel the tension in the closet, the fear and desperation of my classmates palpable. We were trapped, with no way to defend ourselves. The intruders searched the classroom, their flashlights sweeping over the desks and chairs. They seemed to be looking for something or someone. My mind raced, trying to make sense of the situation. Who were they, and what did they want? Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the intruders left the classroom, their footsteps fading away. We remained in the closet, our breaths shallow, waiting for any sign that it was safe to come out. The minutes passed, and the sounds of the intruders grew distant. The lockdown continued, but we had survived the closest encounter with danger. Hours later, we received word that the police had arrived and that the threat had been neutralized. We were finally allowed to leave the closet, our legs trembling as we stepped back into the classroom. The lockdown had ended, but the memory of that terrifying ordeal would stay with me forever. The questions lingered: who were those intruders, and what had they been searching for? The answers remained elusive, a haunting reminder of that day when our school became a battleground. Crestwood Middle School had always been a place of learning and laughter, but on that fateful day, it became the setting for a nightmare that would haunt me for the rest of my life. I was in 7th grade, sitting in the cafeteria during lunchtime, chatting and laughing with my friends. The atmosphere was light and carefree, the chatter of students filling the air. And then, without warning, the fire alarm blared to life, its shrill wail cutting through the noise of the cafeteria. We looked around in confusion, unsure of what was happening. A teacher rushed in, her face pale and panicked. "This is not a drill," she yelled. "Everyone, follow me. Quickly." Panic swept through the cafeteria as we jumped up from our seats, abandoning our lunches. The teacher led us to a nearby storage room, herded us inside, and locked the door behind us. We huddled in the darkness, our hearts pounding, as the fire alarm continued to blare. Minutes turned into hours as we waited in the cramped storage room. Fear hung in the air, and uncertainty gnawed at our insides. What had prompted the fire alarm? Was there a real fire, or was it a false alarm? The minutes stretched on, and the fire alarm showed no signs of stopping. The darkness of the storage room seemed to close in around us, and I could feel the anxiety of my classmates growing. Finally, the fire alarm fell silent, leaving us in an eerie silence. We waited in the darkness, hoping for some word from the teachers or the school administration. And then, a sound broke the silence, a soft, plaintive whisper, like a voice from beyond the grave. It sent a shiver down my spine, and I turned to look at my friends, their faces pale with fear. "Did you hear that?" I whispered. They nodded, their eyes wide with terror. The whispering continued, growing louder and more distinct. It was as if someone, or something, was trying to communicate with us. The words were unintelligible, a jumble of sounds that sent a chill down my spine. The teacher tried to maintain order, but her voice trembled as she spoke. "Stay quiet, everyone. It's going to be okay." But it wasn't okay. The whispering grew more frantic, and then, suddenly, the door to the storage room burst open with a violent force. We screamed as a shadowy figure entered, its form indistinct in the dim light. The figure moved closer, its eyes fixed on us, and I could feel a malevolent presence emanating from it. It reached out toward us, its fingers elongated and skeletal. In that moment of terror, I closed my eyes and prayed for salvation. The whispering grew louder, a cacophony of voices that seemed to fill the room. And then, with a final, violent force, the figure vanished, dissipating into thin air. The door to the storage room slammed shut, and the whispering ceased. The teachers rushed to the door, unlocking it and letting us out. We stumbled into the hallway, shaken and disoriented, as we tried to make sense of what had just happened. The fire alarm had been a false alarm, triggered by a malfunction. But the haunting whispering and the shadowy figure remained unexplained, a chilling reminder that sometimes, the most terrifying things are the ones we cannot see. Willowbrook Elementary was a quaint and welcoming school, nestled in a peaceful neighborhood. But beneath its cheerful exterior lay a dark secret that would be revealed during a routine lockdown. I was in 5th grade, sitting in my classroom and working on a math assignment, when the announcement came over the loudspeaker. "Attention, students and staff. We are now in lockdown. I repeat, this is not a drill. Lock all doors and windows. Remain silent." My classmates and I exchanged nervous glances as the teacher quickly locked the classroom door and turned off the lights. The room fell into a tense silence, broken only by the distant sound of the lockdown alarms. I knew the routine well. We were supposed to huddle in silence, away from the windows and doors, until we received the all-clear signal. But this lockdown felt different, more ominous, as if a shadow had fallen over the school. As we waited, fear gnawed at my insides, and I couldn't help but wonder why we were in lockdown. The teachers and staff remained tight-lipped, refusing to give us any information. Minutes turned into hours, and the tension in the room became unbearable. My classmates and I whispered among ourselves, trying to make sense of the situation. Rumors began to circulate. Some said there was an armed intruder on campus, while others whispered about a ghostly presence haunting the school. The uncertainty weighed heavily on us, and the longer we waited, the more the fear grew. I watched the clock, the minutes ticking by slowly, each one feeling like an eternity. And then, as we huddled in the darkness, something strange began to happen. Faint whispers filled the air, like a distant, unintelligible conversation. I strained my ears, trying to make out the words, but they were garbled and strange. The whispers seemed to come from all around us, as if the very walls of the classroom were speaking. It was an eerie, unsettling sensation that sent shivers down my spine. As the minutes passed, the whispers grew louder and more frantic. It was as if a malevolent force were trying to communicate with us, to convey a message that we couldn't understand. The teacher tried to maintain order, but her voice trembled as she spoke. "Stay quiet, everyone. It's going to be okay." But it wasn't okay. The whispers reached a fever pitch, and then, suddenly, the classroom door burst open with a violent force. We screamed as a shadowy figure entered, its form indistinct in the dim light. The figure moved closer, its eyes fixed on us, and I could feel a malevolent presence emanating from it. It reached out toward us, its fingers elongated and skeletal. In that moment of terror, I closed my eyes and prayed for salvation. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices that seemed to fill the room. And then, with a final, violent force, the figure vanished, dissipating into thin air. The door to the classroom slammed shut, and the whispers ceased. The lockdown finally ended, and the teachers unlocked the doors, allowing us to leave the classroom. We stumbled into the hallway, shaken and disoriented, as we tried to make sense of what had just happened. The school administration explained that the lockdown had been a precaution, triggered by a security breach. But the haunting whispers and the shadowy figure remained unexplained, a chilling reminder that sometimes, the past can cast a long and malevolent shadow over the present.